Okay, well, could you tell us about the SportPesa Allstars project?
Our remit was to go over there and watch every team in the Kenyan Premier League and pick 50 players to go into a training camp. And from that 50 players, from the training camp, there'll be a 2-week training camp with either ourselves or other coaches from Hull. Get whittled down to 16 players who will then come to the UK to play against the Hull City 11, and then the Hull City 11 will go over to Kenya to play against them. So the first part of the project was basically for me and Chris to go over there, look as many Premier League players as we could and pick what we felt were the 50 best or the 50 that impressed on the day.
What are the overall aims of the project?
The overall aims is to give plenty of opportunities to the players that play in the Kenyan Premier League. When me and Rich was out there, it wasn't just games that we went to watch. You know, we visited the actual team's training sessions to look at where the opportunities for players to play. So we covered sort of more or less everything really with regards to seeing all the players in the Kenyan Premier League.
Yeah. You spent a couple of weeks out there. What did you make to the country and the football as well?
It was a new experience for us. Me and Chris both said we'd never been to Africa before, so to go to a place like that, which is essentially a third world country, you know, a lot of the facilities, especially out of the main cities, were very poor. The pitches were very poor, but the standard of football was pretty good, considering what they've got to play with, you know, balls and facilities, standard of pitches and all that. They coped really well with it, and we were, you know, quite impressed with what we saw.
You know, we've never been there before. My knowledge personally of the Kenyan Premier League was very limited. But when we went out there, I think you sort of realise just sort of how disadvantaged some of the locals are. You know, even to be classed as the Kenyan Premier League, some of the pitches for what they trained on was probably no better than local Sunday League standard of football field. But again, like Rich said, the actual players obviously something they've been used to. And they coped really well with it, you know, and they actually dealt with the ball really well. I'm not sure some of our players will be able to deal with the standard pitches that they deal with.
How did you find the Kenyan people out there? What sort of welcome did you get?
Oh, they were the friendliest people. We spoke a bit about people from being up north, are quite a friendly group of people, but the Kenyan people are very similar in that respect. Really friendly, really welcoming, and couldn't do enough for us really. You know, everything we wanted, everything we asked for, you know, they couldn't do enough. So, you know, really pleased. That made it an easy trip, because obviously we were out there for quite a long time, away from our friends and family, so it was difficult in that respect, but yeah, they could have been more welcoming and more helpful with everything we needed. So yeah, really nice people. It
was great as well, because obviously everywhere we went there was a lot of media coverage out in Africa as well, and we didn't realise just how well people knew not just the English Premier League but Hull City itself. So everyone kind of knew where we were from, and obviously that generated a lot of interest. So we had a lot of people coming up to us and asking questions and showing a real interest in the actual football club, which is great.
From what you saw on the football side of things, do you think there's the potential of a progression for Kenyan players to come over to the UK?
I think there's some of the players who are obviously a standard that could play in the English league. Obviously, to say the Premier League may be a little bit sort of a step too far at the moment, but I know the Kenyan FA, working with SportPesa, are trying to put things in place now, which hopefully you'll see the benefits in sort of 5, 10, 15 years to come, and hopefully giving people opportunities to come through, give them a pathway to get to the Kenyan Premier League, to improve the Kenyan Premier League, and obviously open doors to different leagues. Obviously they've got a couple of players such as Wanyama who plays for Spurs. They've got another, what they call an export of Alunga, who plays in the Swedish league, I believe. So they've got a couple of players that can be used as targets, as goals to achieve. But I think it's important with the steps that the Kenyan FA are putting in, that they provide pathways for the players to get there. Really.
Yeah, we spoke a lot with the Kenyan FA, the national team manager, the under-20s manager, about putting things in place, a youth setup, because they don't really have so much of a youth setup. So you have a Premier League side without anything below that. So we're speaking to them a lot about how to build that into the structure and make that a condition of any facilities they provide for the clubs. And we had a good meeting with them about it, and you know, from our experience of the academy structure and how it can help. And when we picked our players, we tried to pick a few younger players. There was a 16-year-old lad we saw that we liked, didn't we? So players like that who haven't been in the system for a long time, who might benefit from a bit of extra coaching and this experience, you know, someone like that might go on to be a Premier League player, but you know, it's early days for him.
How do you think the club club's partnership with SportPesa can help with the development over the next sort of 2 or 3 years?
SportPesa are putting a lot of money into Kenyan football. Obviously they're sponsoring the league, and this is the first sort of major project they've had. I know they've had tie-ups with other football clubs in the Premier League and had coaches over, but this is a real big project. And like I say, just from us going over and speaking to the national coaches and helping club coaches, you know, speaking to them, I know there's a lot of improvements being made in Kenyan football, and it's down to money. If they haven't got the money, they can't do anything, and SportPesa is putting money into it and trying to do partnerships like this. I think it will help and grow, but it's a slow process, you know. They need to walk before they can run it.
They've definitely got a long-term vision though, of trying to improve the football out there.
And the clubs are obviously helping out with the Kits for Kenya campaign at the moment. How big help will that be, do you think?
It'll be massive. I mean, we saw some of the players, the younger players who weren't attached to a club, and they were playing in bare feet. There was different, you know, clothes being worn. You know, the opportunity that will give to the players out there, the younger players, even some of the adult players as well. You know, you don't realise sort of what we take for granted over here, as in the football boots, the strips. Out there, you know, some of it's never been seen before, so it'd be absolutely fantastic for them.
Yeah, well, they love the Premier League as well, you know, so any sort of Premier League shirts and anything like that, they really buzz off it. English football in general, so they love all that. And like I say, there's real poverty over there. It's a, you know, real hardship for some people. And we saw a coach who was not employed by anyone, but he was just coaching kids sort of most days of the week, wasn't he? You know what I mean? He's got nothing. So to give them anything, any little help is massive.
Just finally, the All-Stars project is obviously ongoing. Are you looking forward to the next phase of the project?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, 2 coaches will have to go out there and whittle down the 50 that we chose. So it'll be a tough job. But you know, once they come to the UK, it'll be nice to meet up with some old faces. And you know, it's a good project, and I think, you know, they've learnt a lot. Me and Chris have learnt a lot from going over there. So it's a good project, and we're happy to be involved with it.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to the game back here. It'd be interesting, obviously, to see the players that get selected from what me and Rich originally selected anyway. Like it's been said, we're not sure who's going to go back over there yet to do the training camp, but certainly the game back at the KCON will be interesting, and definitely looking forward to it.